That moves us up, though, into the, as Sanders would say, the top right region. As it is officially called, it is the West region, where Arizona is the 1 seed. And they will face off against the 16 seed Long Island Sharks. Fins up every. Thank you. I'm really sad Long Island's a 16 seed, not going to lie. Not that it's not deserved metric-wise, but I can't even, like, play around or, like, pretend that they're, like, I want to pick them for an upset. But they've kind of become a darling of this, this tournament season. With their kind of rise to being a good team, their whole fins up thing with like 5 people in the crowd, it's a fun bunch. The 2 guys that just like decided they were going to be their team and have rode with them. It's a cool story. But let's play Arizona, who has lost 2 games all season, I believe, led by Bryce James. No,
soon to be led by Bryce James,
soon
maybe,
to be led by
but
Bryce James.
They lost 2 games in the same week too.
Yes,
so you could just say they had a bad week.
They had a bad week. They're so deep. And sometimes I think depth is overrated in March, but they have, like, impact depth, and I don't know if that makes sense in terms of, like, any one of their top 8 guys could go and, like, legitimately lead this team. Not like, oh, this guy's pretty good, and he's their 8th man. He can come, like, off the bench and, score 8 points and get a couple rebounds, like, do the little things. No, it's like, oh, their 8th man may just come and, like, lead the team in scoring, score 20+, be a legit difference maker. And that's kind of how the depth feels different to me and what I would call impact depth, even though that's, like, not a real thing. But, like, that's just another way I can think to explain it as, like, why I think it really matters. I mean, in the Big 12 championship game, the semifinal game against Iowa State, which was fantastic, and Mom Chilovich is raining threes.
Yeah.
And then the guy from Australia, Del Orso, I think is his name,
yes.
is answering right back. And it's like, yeah, he's not necessarily been a major player all season, but this guy's got hurt, and now he stepped up, and he just, like, can't miss. And it's like, oh, sick. Like, stuff like that makes him feel like they're so hard to beat, along with how good they are defensively and their really good guard play with Bradley and Burries. Sorry, Long Island. That being said, I don't really think you have a chance.
Yeah, there's really no one more dangerous than a confident shooter. And even though De La Rosa hasn't had a great season, he had a great day that day. One thing to monitor, Braden Burries hurt his left hand in that game. And while he's right-handed, how willing will he be to go to his left and keep his versatility as a scorer? If you're looking for a metric to help with the Sharks, they are the luckiest team in the tournament per Kim Palm's luck metric.
I do really like that, actually.
They are the 12th luckiest team in college basketball.
So maybe Arizona gets food poisoning the night before.
How are you a top 11 luckiest team in the country and you don't even make the tournament?
I don't know. In fact, all of these 11 teams weren't really even close. Morehead State did play for their conference title, and then Liberty was also the 1 seed in their Conference USA, but neither of those teams made the tournament.
That sounds very unlucky to me. I'm just saying.
Second in luck is Miami of Ohio.
Wow.
The Redhawks.
Checks out.
And the other first 4 game. That being said, LIU played the 15th weakest schedule in college basketball, 350th. So they haven't played Arizona, really anyone, maybe not even a team that if you combined all of the players' talent would stack up with some of the players like Koa Pete. Although they did play, LIU did play Illinois. So
would you like to reveal how that game went for them?
They lost by 40.
Yeah.
Sadly.
Hey, they kept it close to with Mississippi State. I didn't realize that y'all played LIU this year.
Yes, we did. Beat them by 4.
Huge win.
Yeah, huge win. I'm going to take the Wildcats.
That's a tournament victory for y'all. Y'all beat a tournament team.
We did beat a tournament team this year.
Defended home court. Any differing off of the Wildcats? No. Okay.
No, I will not be using my veto here.
This takes us to the 8 seed versus 9 seed matchup in the West, and it's 8 seeded Villanova versus 9 seed Utah State. And I'm going to be honest off rip in my assessment. This is the weakest 8-9 matchup to me.
Sure.
I'm not the biggest fan of either of these teams. You could say Iowa Clemson, maybe you don't really like that 8-9 matchup either. But Villanova didn't play. They're in the Big East. They didn't play a super strong schedule. Their best win is Wisconsin out of conference. They got bodied by Michigan out of conference. They lost to BYU out of conference. They didn't really win any of their big East games. So they lost to St. John's both times and UConn both times. So I don't really. I'm very unsure of their quality. I guess it seems like they're potentially a team that just handled business, but isn't someone that's going to beat a good team. And then Utah State is in the vaunted Mountain West, where it seems like every year their teams underwhelm in the tournament and don't really perform. So that's kind of what we're looking at there. Any thoughts or stats on this matchup?
Yeah, I lied earlier. Utah State is also favored as a 9-seeder. Villanova
Gotcha.
by 2.5. I really like Utah State's style of play. At least
Sure.
They run up and down the floor. Like I don't really haven't seen a team run in transition much faster than they do. I do think like Utah State, if they're to advance, is kind of live to maybe give Arizona a run. They run because of the speed that they run at. I think they can really get out in transition. I think they can put some of Arizona's best players in foul trouble. And MJ Collins is a really, really capable shooter. They run him around like Steph Curry, running a bunch of curl screens and flare screens and whatnot. Yeah. The problem is they lack rim protection. They do not protect the rim very well. They give up offensive rebounds a lot. So you think about like Koa Pete and then the big man, what's his name?
Krivas?
What's his
Krivas,
last
right?
name? Not Krivas, no, the other one. The one that comes off the bench.
That's going to drive me crazy. Oh, Awaka?
Yes.
Yeah.
He, I think, would just dominate against Utah State. That being said, I think Utah State, with their speed, might be able to keep up with them. I'm going to take the Aggies of Utah State as my pick.
Do they also say Gig'em?
That I don't know.
They don't
Probably
say
not.
Gig'em.
Because our
as
Gig'em-
as a former Utah State head coach in the video game college football, they do not.
Because our Gig'em slogan is not related to us being the Aggies. So
okay.
it's kind of a separate thing. I also will go with the Aggies. Well, I just don't like this Villanova team. And also, I saw a picture. They do a cool cow pattern in their basketball arena stands.
Oh,
where
That
it's
was very cool.
like, it's like, they got the black blotches on the white.
That is
I don't know
very
how you
cool.
set that up. It seems pretty difficult.
I don't think so.
I just feel like most times people try and pull that off, and it just doesn't look
You put out
great.
free T-shirts.
Yeah, but then people have to show up for a Utah State basketball game.
Well, when
enough
you're
to pack it out.
28 and you only got 6 losses, Utah State fans are going to show up.
I'm just saying, like, I don't think A&M would pack out the non-student section like that. I don't think State would necessarily pack out
If
the
y'all
non-student
only had 6
section
losses,
like that. Maybe if we only had 6 losses.
yeah, I think that like you got to think about everything like
Maybe.
relative, like
Maybe.
because like in the Mountain West, I mean Utah State won the Mountain West, right? And so I'm assuming they're 9 seed. I'm gonna assume they won it. They're
They
an
did.
automatic
They beat
qualifier.
San Diego
Yeah.
State.
Regardless, it looked cool.
It
That's
did
what I'll
look
say.
very cool. It did look very cool. That's not a. I shouldn't have started trying to argue that. It did look very cool. We can go ahead and move on because I would also pick Utah State
Cool.
here.
In the West, the 5 seed Wisconsin will face off against the 12 seeded High Point Panthers. Their second straight NCAA appearance, High Point that is, and they face Wisconsin, who is very hot right now. This is a tough draw for High Point.
Yeah, back-to-back
Excuse
years
me.
of tough draws.
You could argue it's a tough draw for Wisconsin as well. Some things about Wisconsin: number 11th in Ken Palm on offensive rating, but only number 51 in defensive rating. So much better offensive team than defense. They don't turn the ball over. They're third in three-pointers attempted and third in three-pointers made in the country. So they're going to hit a ton of threes. They're led by the backcourt tandem of Nick Boyd and John Blackwell. And then one injury thing to note, Nolan Winter, a forward on their team, has missed a couple weeks due to a hurt ankle, but he should be ready for the NCAA tournament, so just something to keep on. And then they got a couple other shooters on their team, but not a great defensive team, and that's highlighted. They're 212th in opponent two-point percentage. They give up opponents make 52.3% of their two-point shots against Wisconsin.
Not great.
So they can be had inside. And then all I really got on High Point, they're very small, that plays fast and forces a bunch of turnovers. It feels like kind of the classic, like high-seeded mid-major,
Yeah.
conference winner of like, we don't really have the size, but we're gonna run and we're gonna shoot and we're gonna be aggressive because what do we have to lose?
Mhm.
Terry Anderson is their leading scorer, 16 points per game, and then they have a guy who's kind of become a darling. So y'all probably heard his name, Chase Johnston, 6 points per game, hasn't made a 2 all season, but he shoots 49% from 3, and I believe he wears 99.
That's sick.
Remarkable.
So potential March Madness legend there, Chase Johnston. Thoughts on this matchup?
It's on Thursday. It's at 12:50 Central. So this will be a game that is on whiteboards across the country in
Mhm.
schools, and a lot of people will be cheering on High Point.
Sure.
A lot of eyeballs will be on this game. I just feel like it's again another bad matchup for High Point. Last
Completely
year
agree.
they played Purdue in the first round, and that Purdue team, they just had a better day than High Point did that day, and High Point couldn't get it done. I think the lack of size is just going to matter in a game like this. I think about a team that shoots the 3 ball as much as Wisconsin does, shoots it as well as they do, and then I think about, the other team doesn't have size, meaning we're going to get offensive rebounds and get to shoot more threes. That's when you get your best 3-point attempts. It's off an offensive rebound when everyone's crashed the boards and then you kick out for another opportunity. I think that's just going to hurt High Point in this game. So I'll take the Badgers to beat High Point in advance.
I'll also take Wisconsin.
Yeah, I'll also take. Excuse me. I would take High Point here. They would be favored.
High Point favored?
Whoa.
Yeah. Hold on. Let me double check that and be sure that's right. Is that right?
This would be a stunner.
Hold up.
Wisconsin's favored by 9.5 per Vegas.
9.
But per the Sanders model,
Yeah, High Point is my power rankings. They are. Guess where they are in the power
Let's say
rankings?
10th.
10th.
okay, that's great.
So is this your veto then?
No, I'm
Okay.
saving my veto.
Oh wow.
I wonder who you're saving it for. Interesting.
But I would vote. Where does Wisconsin fall? Wisconsin would be. They're 5.5 point favorites over Wisconsin. Wisconsin's my 41st
Wow.
power rank team.
This is a big island for the limb
I'll
for
go
the
ahead
model
and
to go off.
So the
onto.
breakdown is High Point on offense scores almost 14 points above expected, above opponents' average allowed, and they hold opponents 3 points below what they usually score. Wisconsin, on the other hand, scores 10 points above average and holds opponents to only 1 point below average. So that's the reasoning there. So my model would have High Point as 5.5 point favorites.
Cool. But you're gonna take Wisconsin.
I'm gonna pick Wisconsin.
Okay.
I'm saving my veto.
That's a big limb for the model to go out on. Next matchup, the 4 seed versus the 13 seed, and it's 4 seed Arkansas, fresh off their SEC tournament champ crown, facing off against the Rainbow Warriors of Hawaii as the 13 seed,
Do you know High Point's mascot? I'm sorry to
the
interrupt.
Panthers.
Panthers.
Mm-hmm.
I do not have dyslexia, but I might have logo dyslexia because whenever I see High Point, I think Grand Canyon.
That
And
is interesting of you.
they're purple and it's 3 letters.
Yeah, they're like outlined
Yeah,
letters.
like-
sure. They are not Grand Canyon.
Yeah,
though.
sorry to interrupt. That
No,
was
you're
just
good.
like a tangent. I literally had that in my mind the entire time we were talking about that game, and then forgot to say it. I got distracted, so I had to throw
Yeah.
it out there that
You're good.
I can tell them apart, but I have to like really be like, wait, which one is that High Point or Grand Canyon? They look the same to me, even though they look very different.
Well, headline about 4 seed Arkansas is Darius Acuff, the play of him down the stretch, and just how complete and good of a point guard he is, at least offensively. The defense can be a little hit or miss at times, right? But with that being said, he's such a good offensive player. Just leads. He's the engine. Assists, scoring, whatever you need, you name it. And then shocker, John Calipari team has tons of talent, and so he's surrounded by just athletic freaks. Malik Thomas, another fellow freshman in the backcourt, has been really good as well. Billy Richmond, the Billy Goat, makes just eye-popping plays. Big dunks, big steals. Trevon Brazil's been very good. Kind of holding down the front court. Great team, and they're hot right now. And then considering they're led by Acuff, it kind of feels like the sky's the limit for that bunch. And then really all I have on Hawaii is the fact that they play no switch defense, and so I'm very interested to see how that plays against Acuff and like how that goes with him running the pick and
Well,
roll.
On that, their shortest starter is 6'6".
As well as say they're also big and
Yeah.
they have a legit 7-footer, which is not something very many like mid majors can say.
Yeah.
And he's good, and they'll play through him in the post. He's their leading scorer. So it's a very interesting matchup. Kind of feels like a house of cards for Hawaii, where it's like you're trying all the things that in theory could work, but like if one thing goes wrong, suddenly Arkansas beats you by 25.
Yeah.
Thoughts on this matchup?
It's also played on Thursday, and Arkansas already, like Calipari already complained throughout the SEC tournament of the scheduling, where they're finishing games, past midnight and then playing the next day, and then played on Sunday. In the SEC tournament, now he has to turn around and play on Thursday, and they'll have to travel for this game as well. So maybe something to look at for Arkansas being tired, maybe, and maybe that's a reason you could pick Hawaii. Also with the Hawaii size, maybe there's something to lean to there. Something that just separates good players from great players is they just score the ball more, and it's very simple
Sure.
to say that, but when you watch someone like Acuff play, he just scores the ball more than everyone. He makes more shots. He has more moves to get more open shots, and a player of that ability, I think, is going to be hard to stop for a mid-major at least. And so I like Arkansas to
he's
win
hard
this game.
for good teams to stop. Like he's
Absolutely.
incredible. So
Just go watch his bag from the SEC tournament, and he had some incredible moves and incredible games.
Sure.
Some ridiculous shots, including 2 different shots where he hit corner threes off an inbound with a dude all up in his face. Didn't matter. So I think Arkansas gets it done against Hawaii. I don't think this is another year where Kentucky loses a game to a mid-major, shockingly.
Arkansas. But yes.
Or John Calipari loses one, like Oakland and St. Peter's.
Yes.
yeah.
That was the last point I was going to make is which you could say, considering this season and maybe even a little bit of last season, he's, he's washed Kentucky, what led to him to get fired from Kentucky. But also one of the biggest things Kentucky fans were getting on him for is just like lack of in-game management in big games and not necessarily his ability to get talent and really good players. So, hey, maybe if that is really true, they'll struggle in this kind of game if it's close or maybe, even in the round of 32. But I just think they're so talented. I'm going with Arkansas. And I think Acuff helps something like that in terms of in-game management. He can, if there are some legit issues there, he can alleviate some of that by how good and cerebral he is.
I'll also go Arkansas. Who is Arizona's star?
I mean, it's Jaden Bradley was Big 12 Player of the Year, but it's like
Him and Braden Burries.
yeah, I was gonna say they really are more of a
But you
depth
also have
team
Koa Pete.
than like a real
Okay.
apex guy on their team.
I was just trying to think, like, what's the first, like, phenom, specifically freshman phenom, but there aren't, like, a lot of freshman phenom out there that we would see.
That we see play?
Yeah, that we'd see play each other.
Oh, play each other.
Yeah.
I see.
Sorry, that was, like, I was trying to think, like, would you qualify, like, would someone on Arizona, would you say is Darius Acuff level?
You would. I mean,
Or
you'd
is
see.
it Dabonsa versus Acuff and maybe the Elite Eight?
No,
I'm
you'd see
looking.
it just as early if it was Kansas and Duke,
Yeah.
Cameron Boozer and Darren Peterson.
Okay.
See,
In
that
the
one you
Sweet
get
16.
Sweet 16, yeah.
Sweet 16, Illinois, Houston, Kingston Flemings, and Keaton Wagler
Yeah.
would feel kind of fit that same vibe and similar bill. But yeah, no one would really meet before the round of 16 in terms of like just
The
true
round,
elite
we're calling it the
freshmen.
round of 16.
The Sweet 16, excuse me.
Okay, cool. I was just curious because like I was just looking at the bracket and like Arkansas and BYU right next to each other, but obviously they wouldn't play until the Elite Eight
Yeah.
because they go opposite directions. But it just made me wonder like what would be the earliest like future NBA draft pick matchup that we would see.
Yeah.
But we can go ahead and move on to that BYU game.
Yeah, it'll be the 6 versus 11, and it's one of the 11 seeds. That's the first 4, so you don't really fully know who's going to come out. But it's either Texas or NC State. Both teams that did not finish down the stretch well. They kind of limped in and then got in because of a weak bubble. But they both also have good talent on that team. I mean, Darren Williams was at Texas Tech last year and was making a name for himself in this very tournament. He's now at NC State. Dalen Swain has been really good at Texas down the stretch this season, and they have other good scorers on that team. But the winner of that will face BYU, and BYU, unfortunately, I would say their second best player, Richie Saunders, tore his ACL about a little less than a month ago, and they've not, unsurprisingly, they've not fully recovered from that. He was someone that not only the scoring punch he gave you at 18 points a game, but he also was just a senior. He was good at calming the group down, getting the offense into their sets better than someone like a Rob Wright would. Not that Rob Wright is bad, but they've just really missed his presence. And once again, 18 points a game in college, like replacing that is really, really difficult. So now it really has become the AJ DeBonsa show, and then Rob Wright kind of as his Robin. His usage rate is up to 33% on the season, and it's like basically 40% since Richie Saunders has come out. And so it's become pretty clear BYU is going to go as far as AJ DeBonsa can carry them. Will he have a game where he has like 25 and he's really efficient, or will it be like a game where he has 35 and he's shooting 50% from the floor and they win? That really becomes the question. I don't think there's tons of other, what's the word I'm looking for?
Talking points.
Yeah, talking points. I mean, maybe it's like who else can step up in the Richie Saunders absence. A guy like Mboop or someone like that. Dawson Baker, perchance, kind of in the wake. But regardless, do y'all think BYU has enough to get over this first game at least?
Yeah, I'd be surprised if either of these two teams. I think maybe Texas less surprising than NC State, but still would be surprising if BYU lost to either of these two teams. I think they're well coached. I think they'll be ready for that first game.
I just don't think either team has the defense to really slow DeBonsa.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I don't like the matchups there for DeBonsa. So I would take maybe the show's BYU Cougars.
My definitively are questionably BYU Cougars.
I still don't know how this became JP's BYU Cougars when I was the one that picked them to go over in their season win total, and y'all both picked them to go under.
Well, you and me potentially jumped ship, and JP would argue he stayed on the boat.
Yeah.
I see. So blind fanaticism is the goal. Got it. I would also go BYU. My question: did y'all see the quote about him saying that he only had one chance at this?
I did not see that.
Yeah, which is just funny because he also had the quote like, a month ago was like, I'm thinking about coming back to school. So it turns out he's not surprised.
I mean, he's going to give it his all, and he has down this whole stretch. He's played 40 minutes a couple times, and he probably will play 40 minutes in this tournament game if it's close, which will probably lead to him having some defensive lapses off ball. But, he plays 40 minutes. What can you expect? So BYU's moving on. Down the line, 3-seeded Gonzaga versus 14-seeded Kennesaw State. I believe, is this basketball have a Kennesaw State owl on it?
Yeah, this is from Kennesaw State basketball camp, local university from where I'm from. This is it is 2000 and either 11 or 12 basketball camp.
Sure.
I got this ball signed by the players on that team. That team was really bad that year. This is KSU's second appearance in the tournament ever. Last time they were a 13 seed, and faced off against Xavier. Was really close in that game and lost it. For me, not only because of my affinity for KSU, I am the former head coach at Kennesaw State in the College Hoops 2K8 video game. I coached there for 6 years and led this team to the Sweet 16 as a 13 seed. Also won a 15 versus 2 matchup as a 15 seed, of course. Not only my affinity for the friends I have that have gone there to that university, not only that, my father was a professor at that university. Not only did I, go to basketball camps there as well as a basketball savant, I would say. But they have an incredible story this year. The KSU, they're led by R.J. Johnson and their two forwards, Braden Liu and Franquan Sherman, which is a sick name.
Yeah, it's dope.
R.J. Johnson's a combo guard. He's a physical ball handler. I do think something to note, which may hurt them. In the final 5 minutes of the game, it is essentially just sets to create ISOs for RJ Johnson and let him just play one-on-one.
So they're going to live or die by that.
Yes, and he doesn't have a deep bag. His one-on-one moves are try to get to the rim and out-physical and you finish.
So probably die by that.
Yes, they'll probably die by that, especially with the matchup against Gonzaga. They had a guy, though, who was scoring 20-plus a game to start the season, and that was through their first 17 games. But he was found guilty of fixing games by shaving points
Nice.
in games that he played for Kennesaw State in 2024, where he would fix
So,
games by shaving
a year
points at
ago.
the end of the game, and have one of his buddies bet on whatever spread he needed to have. Most of the time, it was the other team covering the spread against KSU.
Yeah.
So he was found guilty of that and was suspended indefinitely by the NCAA. He was
Deserved.
their best player by far. He was averaging 20-plus a game.
Yeah, that hurts.
And so they've battled through that. That happened mid-season on game 18. They lost their best player, not to like an injury, but like, can you imagine like losing your boy in the locker room to he cheated in a betting scandal?
Yeah, that hurts. That creates some distrust.
That's a
and
completely
whatnot.
different thing. It's from someone, your boy tearing your ACL like Reggie Saunders with BYU. It's your boy was actually a liar and a cheater and impacted the integrity of the game. So they've battled through that. They were the 6th seed in their Conference USA tournament and battled all the way and won that tournament. I do think, like, if you're going to, which I'm going to watch this game, of course, as a KSU Owl
You
fan and former head coach there, if there's a guy you're looking for to maybe have a March moment to beat Gonzaga, which Gonzaga just doesn't lose in the first round or the second round, it's Caden Rickard.
Okay.
He's number 4. He's an excellent passer, especially on lobs. So look for him to maybe feed one of our 2 forwards on a lob to dunk on someone for Gonzaga. This team did beat Liberty, which we applaud them for that because we do not like Liberty on this pod. And they only lost to Alabama by just 11 points at Alabama.
It's not bad at all.
I think the score was
I'm
like
assuming they had their best player at the time.
Yes, they did. But it was Alabama scored 100-plus points that game, and they only lost by 11.
Yeah.
So there's kind of your consensus on Kennesaw State, and then they get, of course, the brutal matchup with the Gonzaga Bulldogs in the last year of the Western Coast Conference, the WCC. They ended up winning the WCC over Santa Clara.
Yeah, about this Gonzaga team, I'm not the biggest fan of this version, partially because I'm just not, but also they're missing Braden Huff. He's been out since, I believe, sometime in January with is it an ankle or a knee
It was a knee issue.
Knee
if I'm not
issue.
mistaken.
And he's been ruled out. He's trying to ramp back up, but he's been ruled out for the first weekend of the tournament at least. And missing that much time, it's hard to believe he's going to come back, even if he's ready for Sweet 16, Elite 8, and just, like, return to form. He was averaging 18 points a game, was a really good defender. And so I just feel like they've taken a bit of a step back from them. Like, I don't think they lose to the Portland Pilots, for example, if he's around.
Yeah.
But without him, they still have Graham Ike, who averaged 19.7 points a game and led the conference. Tyron Grant Foster's there, the guy from, Grand Canyon. He's had a pretty good season scoring the ball. They're still a good team. Like, I'm going to pick them to beat Kennesaw State. And once again, it's kind of their thing is to win at least a couple games in the tournament. But this is not a Gonzaga team that really scares me. I'll say that. Unlike typically I see the Gonzaga team and I'm like, oh, I would not want to play this team in the tournament. I think I kind of would be excited to play this team in the tournament in terms of compared to like other 3 seeds, that is. Any thoughts, Sanders?
What does the model say?
Kennesaw State by 12.
No, it has Gonzaga by 14.
Cool.
So
Okay, well, that's under the spread for the actual game. The spread is Gonzaga minus 20.5.
So we'll all pick Gonzaga there, and we can move on. I'm actually working trying to fix something that broke.
Gotcha.
I'm going to pick Kennesaw State,
Oh,
but I'm not going to veto.
Okay.
okay.
I'm saving it. I have one in mind for the last region.
Gotcha.
That I expect at least. So I'm going to take KSU, but Gonzaga. Plus, the me never getting a pick is already off the board, so it doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah.
True.
Fair. Well, it brings us to our 7 versus 10 matchup in this region. And it's number 7 Miami versus number 10 Missouri, an ACC versus SEC matchup. Very impressive first year for Miami under Jai Lucas, former Duke assistant coach. He's gone there and done well. Malik Renault is their leading scorer. Kind of another guy that's been around the block a bit. Trey Donaldson is there. He's having a good season, averaging 16.5 points and 6 assists. So a couple other kind of key stats on their team as I try and kill time till I scroll to them. They're a great rebounding team. They're top 30 in both defensive rebounding percentage and offensive rebounding percentage. And that's really how they win, because they're not a fantastic shooting team, but they create second chance opportunities from that and then go from there. It's a toughish matchup for them. Missouri's a pretty big team as well, so maybe rebounding will be tough, but also Missouri is not exactly a team that's coming in super hot. So it kind of feels like just kind of a toss-up 7-10 matchup. But y'all's thoughts here?
I just wanted to. This is something of note. Head coach Jay Lucas, who you just talked about for Miami, he said he likes when his guards played running back in high school. When he talks about physicality, Miami plays very physical ball.
Yeah.
I think Sanders wanted to mention this earlier. So Sanders, if you want to tee up the location thing, was this something you wanted to mention?
Yeah, this is exactly what I want to talk about. It's in St. Louis. So it's a home game for Missouri, which it's just a tough, terrible draw for Miami that you have earned, this higher seed. And it's pretty standard that, especially among like the top seeds, that they'll get like, a Texas team like will get the Oklahoma City regional, and then a Northeastern team will get like I don't know what I know in women's basketball they play in Storrs, Connecticut, I believe, a good bit, or somewhere in Connecticut.
Buffalo, New York.
Yeah, Buffalo, New York. And then a West Coast team will get a California game, like in Los Angeles or something. And so it sucks for Miami that they have to go to St. Louis, which is like
St. Louis is 100 miles from Columbia, Missouri, and then Miami is 1,000 miles from St. Louis, so 10x the amount of miles.
It's pretty bad.
So it will be a home game for Missouri, which is really unfortunate. And then there's something else where if they win that,
they'll play Purdue, and it'll be a home game against Purdue, essentially.
Yeah, because,
sure.
It's
we
still
assume
a lot.
they'll play Purdue.
We do assume.
Maybe Queens got them.
Thank you, Harris. Bridgeport is where the women often play regional, not Storrs. I think Storrs is where UConn is. Yeah. Anyway, so it just sucks for Missouri that they have to, sucks for Miami. It's great for Missouri. Missouri fans have to be over the roof, ecstatic about the situation they found themselves in.
Elated.
Yep. And so that'll be something to keep your eye on. I'm actually thinking about adding the home court advantage back into the model for this game and to see what happens.
Sure.
Which would make a lot of sense just because it is really going to be a home game for Missouri.
That will matter, but I don't think it's going to matter enough. I like Miami here.
I do too.
Because of the rebounding, and then also Missouri turns the ball over a lot. So assuming Miami can keep getting those offensive rebounds at the rate they normally do, and then can turn the ball over or turn Missouri over, which really is not that hard. Like watching Missouri, they're kind of just giving you some of those turnovers, not really the work of the other team. And so I think you're just going to have enough extra possessions from that and get extra shots to win this game and advance to the second round.
Who did Missouri lose to in the SEC tournament?
They lost to Kentucky.
Yeah, I watched that game, and number 25 from Missouri went, I think it was 25.
Mark Mitchell.
Yeah. Dude,
He's a good player.
Off.
Yeah, he's a fantastic player.
It was crazy. I think did he finish with 30-plus points?
32.
Yeah. And he almost, it was a close game, right? They ended up losing by 2 or 3.
Yeah.
But they were down kind of big, and then he reeled Kentucky back in.
Off. So that was really cool. I hope to see him. I feel like it's going to have a little bit of sour taste if they do win because of the home field advantage thing. But I do hope to see a good game from him, and it should be entertaining to watch them compete versus Miami. But we're all picking Miami.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Hurricanes.
Let's do it.
I've got Miami minus 5 points without home field, and home court is like 3 to 3.5 in basketball, right?
Yeah,
Somewhere in there.
Miami is only favored by 1.5 in this game.
Gotcha.
But we all got the Hurricanes, and now we
I think
moved
that's the
to
first spread I've talked about where I
have the favorite.
have the favorite.
Favored more than what they are favored by. We moved to Purdue and Queens, though, and this is Queens' first time in the NCAA tournament.
And it is not Purdue players in New York. It is not Queens, New York.
Yes,
They're in like North Carolina.
North Carolina.
So the more you know.
Interesting.
This is kind of more the same Purdue team, except they don't have the massive big man. They do. Daniel Jacobson, I think is his name, but he doesn't play a ton. He's only a sophomore, and so it really is just by more the same. I mean, you have Braden Smith is still around.
Yep.
Fletcher Lawyer is still there. Trey Kaufman-Wren is still there. It's like that trio still doing what they do. Great offensive bunch led by Braden Smith. The defense can get a little suspect at times. They're number 37 in defensive rating on KenPom, which is like out of all 365 teams, that's a great number. But out of like all the other, top 8 teams, like they're a 2 seed. That's not exactly the best mark for a 2 seed, and it could end up catching them at some point. But yeah, I mean, just based off their offense and their experience, I say that this group has been, a lot of these people were on the team that lost to Farley Dickinson. But no, I think Purdue can handle Queens just fine with that kind of group.
I would second that.
Any disagreement, JP?
I mean, we've seen it before,
We have.
and I'll say the FDU win is unflippin' believable, considering FDU's tallest guy was, I think, 6'5", 6'6",
FDU, believe it.
and you were playing against Zach Edey.
Yeah.
And you go back and watch that game. I don't even know how they did it. It was just an incredible day that they had, and they ended up losing to a team that plays in the Final Four in FAU in the next round. So maybe they could have had some kind of like St. Peter's run had they not played a Final Four team in Dusty May's FAU Owls. But I like Purdue. I will take Purdue. I've already taken a 15 seed to win today. I'm not going to take a second.
Sure.
Yep.
Let's get on to the round of 32 in this side then. And maybe we can kind of speed through a couple of these as we're already reaching. We're crawling towards 3 hours. We have a whole region to go still. Arizona versus Utah State. I'm taking Arizona. The depth and just talent on this team, I think, will overwhelm Utah State. I know JP kind of already made a case while Utah State could maybe hang with, but I feel pretty comfortable Arizona here in this matchup.
Yeah, I think they could potentially shoot well enough to be in it, but I watch Arizona this year, and I watch them in the Big 12 tournament, and I just see their ability to score inside and out is just terrific. So I don't think with Utah State's lack of rim protection, that was something they struggled with against San Diego State in the Mountain West Championship game. I like the Wildcats. I think they will get it done. Because like we talked about earlier, they only lost twice this year, and it was both in the same week. So they've only had one bad week all year. That being said, maybe they're due for a bad week.
Maybe.
So I say all that to say Utah State might beat Arizona.
Cool.
But I'd give me the Wildcats.
I'm also going Arizona.
Cool. This brings us to a 5-seed Wisconsin facing off against a 4-seed Arkansas. And one of the better round of 32 matchups, I'd argue, just with the way both these teams are playing right now and the guard play that both of these teams have with Nick Boyd, John Blackwell for Wisconsin, and then Darius Acuff and Malik Thomas for Arkansas. I like Arkansas here personally. I think that possibly could be some SEC bias sneaking in of just like I've watched a lot of this Arkansas team this year, and I love what Acuff brings to the table and just the athleticism that the rest of the team has and the size they can play with too. I think this Arkansas team is going to be a really hard team to beat. And so I'll take them to beat Wisconsin.
Concur. Razorbacks.
Are we going to have to say Woo Pig Soo? I mean,
Woo
I
pig
agree.
sucky.
Yeah.
We
Okay.
can say.
Yeah, I'm good with that. Are you?
I'm
not?
also going Arkansas
Okay,
there.
cool.
So we can keep moving.
BYU versus Gonzaga. A matchup of teams both missing key players, and they will both be missing those key players for this game. I personally will be riding with my boy AJ DeBonsa. This could be. I basically to make this pick, I'm banking on him to have a cinematic and all-time March Madness performance to beat Gonzaga. But I think he can have it. He said he only gets this chance once.
Yeah.
So here's his spot. Go get a win in advance to the Sweet 16.
Yeah, he leads all of college basketball in points per game.
Yeah.
Individually, 25.3, which he was at 24.9 going into the Big 12 title game, and then he breaks Kevin Durant's freshman record for points in a single game with 45 against Kansas State. I do think he's going to have a really incredible tournament. With all of the incredible freshmen, he's one of the guys that I most want to see just play as many games as possible.
I think they got a really good draw too.
Yeah.
For sure they're kind of limping in here, but so are Texas and NC State. Gonzaga's beat up, and I say I hate St. Mary's. I think I'm really just, in general, not the biggest fan of the West Coast Conference teams. But I think they could handle Gonzaga. I'm not saying I'm going to pick them to beat Purdue, but I think Purdue's one of the weaker 2 seeds, and they have some defensive issues where, they may struggle to just contain DeBonsa, and he could just feast yet again. So it could be a really special run for him, but time will tell.
I'm picking Gonzaga.
Does not matter.
Doesn't matter, but I just wanted to put that out there. They are my 4th highest ranked.
This is
team,
when
4th power ranked
you're
team.
kind of in a win-win spot.
True, because
if me and JP are right, then you're with the group. No one thinks of it. If we're wrong, then you're like, y'all should have listened to me. Last round of 32 matchup here: 7 seed Miami versus 2 seed Purdue Boilermakers. Could be a fun matchup. Thankfully, Missouri's lost, so there's no more home field shenanigans here. I have Purdue here. I think their offense can get them at least the second weekend just with how good it is. Braden Smith is his last March Madness. Maybe he has a bit of a special run in him. And I do like this Miami team, but I don't love them. I don't know if they have the shot making to score with Purdue. Though maybe they just grab enough offensive rebounds, but I'm still rolling with Purdue.
Yeah, I got the Boilermakers as well.
same. It feels like Braden Smith has been playing since 2008.
He kind of looks like it too.
Yeah.
He does.
I don't know why that just came to mind, but you were just like, it's his last. You said it was his last
Well,
March
theoretically,
Madness,
we'll
last
see.
dance.
We'll see what temporary
Yeah.
restraining order or injunction he
Yeah.
files
Anything's
for.
possible.
Yeah. I will also go Purdue here.
This takes us to the Sweet 16, and we get a great matchup: number 1 seed Arizona versus number 4 seed Arkansas. Just couldn't really ask for anything better. This would probably be the best 1v4, 1v5 matchup you could see, in my opinion. This is just basically the hottest team versus quote unquote the best team, depending on who you ask in the country. I think I'm gonna have to lean Arizona here. As much as that
Kansas,
scares me.
So not to be contradictory, but Duke, Kansas would also go hard.
Yes, but I think this would be a better game. I think.
Yeah, that's fair.
I'm gonna lean Arizona. I'm gonna lean the depth, the impact depth, the stupid thing I've coined, and the great guard play they have to kind of be able to match what Acuff can do. So
They're just better.
Yeah.
Arizona's just better. I think Arizona, along with Duke, is just. For me, it feels like a lock to be a Final Four team, because for Arizona it's different. They're very deep and have a lot of guys that can impact the game, but it's a lot of star power. I loved the way that they battled through the Big 12 tournament as well.
Agreed.
It clearly showed they are built for a tournament,
and that's something Arizona has not necessarily been.
Yeah,
that they've not done in a while. That's kind of the one knock, or maybe if you don't want to pick Arizona, is I don't even know the last time they've been to a Final Four. They lost to Princeton as a 2 seed a couple years ago in the first round. So that's a
with
good
DeAndre
sign. I agree.
Ayton, they lost in the first round to Buffalo.
Yeah.
They have struggled in the tournament for many years. I think this team is ready for that.
Sure.
And I think they'll get it done against Arkansas in the Sweet 16.
Yep, that's what I would pick as well.
Perfect. And then that takes us down to the bottom side in the Sweet 16 matchup between 6 seed BYU versus 2 seed Purdue. I do think this is where the loss of Richie Saunders gets BYU, and Purdue advances to the Elite Eight, in my opinion.
I just realized I put in the wrong. I was like, why are we talking about BYU's? Because I put the wrong team in.
Because they're goated. Shout out BYU. Shout out the Cougars. But I'm taking Purdue. I think the DeBonsa run ends there.
He'll have like a 30-piece and a loss or something.
Yep, I agree.
Cool. And then that takes us to the Elite Eight matchup between Arizona and Purdue. And this is where I really think that Purdue can no longer overcome the hurdle of the lack of kind of rim protection and their lack of elite defense. And I think this is a game where Arizona can kind of feast. We talked about them feasting against Long Island. It obviously won't be that level. But I think this is a game where you could see like a plus 10 at least rebounding margin for Arizona. And they can kind of, I think it's a really bad matchup for Trey Kaufman-Wren, which then puts even more on the table for Braden Smith and Fletcher Lawyer. And so I think this is where it ends for Purdue. I got Arizona making the Final Four.
Yeah, now Arizona had a good matchup versus Houston because of Houston's lack of size. But even against Iowa State, I just loved the way Koa Pete played and Krivas. That's how you say his last name?
Yes, I believe so.
And Awaka especially. I thought they just played phenomenal. And those are, a lot of people would argue they're third, fourth, fifth best players. So for them to play as well as they did, I feel like this team is really dangerous. And it is just built for really any kind of battle. Purdue, I don't think is up to the test for that. I like Arizona.